welcome to another draft profile video for the 2021 NFL draft. Today we're going to be talking about Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle from Northwestern. And before we get into the profile itself, a couple things I want to mention. Number one, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at SkullOhio. And number two, let me know in the comments below what prospect you would like to see me talk about next. And I'm going to preface this video with, for anybody who hasn't seen any of these before, that this is not me breaking down film or talking about a player's abilities or whatnot. This is me introducing you to a prospect that is potentially going to be, well, not potentially, but is going to be available in the NFL draft, whether you are a fan of the Minnesota Vikings or another team. This is just a way for us to create a discussion, tell you what everybody in the draft community is thinking about him, and just some little, nuggets, if you will. This isn't me watching the film and telling you he's a really good tackle, or this guy's a really good receiver, or this guy's got a great arm for quarterback. This is me sort of collecting data from around the internet and sharing it with you. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, let's get into the profile about Rashawn Slater. I'm very excited about this one. I felt like offensive lineman was going to be very difficult to do because, as you can see on the board behind me, there's not a lot of statistics to talk about, right? I don't want to go through and just like write down, oh, this guy had 7 pancakes. That's who cares, right? I think the best piece of advice that I found when scouring the internet to sort of figure out how do you talk about offensive linemen as prospects for the NFL draft was if they can handle NFL caliber talent, then they're probably going to succeed at the next level. And Rashawn Slater is one of those guys because if you look behind my shoulder on the scouting report, the very first little tick there is that you watch the film versus Chase Young when Northwestern played Ohio State in 2019. That is what a lot of people are going to reference when they talk about Rashawn Slater over the next 2 months. And that is going to be how he basically erased Chase Young from the game when Northwestern played Ohio State. Now, Ohio State still kicked their ass, and Ohio State won the game, but it wasn't because of Chase Young. He had next to no impact, thanks to Rashawn Slater being as dominant as he was. So before we go any further, let's, of course, go over all of the statistics that we do have. Rashawn Slater was a senior this year, 6'3", 315 pounds, depending on what website you get your information from. I've seen him listed as high as 6'4", 308 pounds. It just, once again, depends on where your measurements are from. We'll get, I guess, exact measurements when the pro days occur. 2018 did not play. 2019 appeared in 11 games as a starter for the left tackle position, allowed 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, and 5 quarterback hurries all damn year. So that is in and of itself impressive, especially in the Big Ten. So in 2019, going up against guys like Chase Young, going up against A.J. Epineza in Iowa, faced really good competition. So I think that is what a lot of people, as we've said already, are going to point to when they sort of talk about Rashawn Slater, since he didn't play this year. The fact that he's had prior success against guys who are currently in the NFL in the Chase Young tape is like the holy grail, if you will. He did opt out in 2020, so all we have to go on is his performances from 2019. The rankings roundup is pretty interesting from around the internet. The Athletics' Dane Brugler has him at number 6 overall on his top 100 big board. That could change in the coming days when he releases his offensive tackle rankings. Right now, he has him as the second offensive tackle behind Penei Sewell. The Draft Network surprisingly has him at number 10 overall, but that's not the surprising part. The surprising part is that they have him as offensive tackle number 3. They like Christian Darrisaw just a little bit better from Virginia Tech. He is listed as 9th on their big board, so that's 1 spot ahead of Rashawn Slater. Tankathon puts him at number 12 overall and the number 2 offensive tackle behind Penei Sewell. PFF does the same, number 12 overall prospect and the offensive tackle number 2 behind Penei Sewell. So for the Minnesota Vikings, if I could just get team specific here for a minute, if I am going to draft an offensive lineman in the top 15, this is the guy that I want. Now, Penei Sewell is obviously the dream, but that dream is going to be unobtainable. He's likely a top 5, top 6 pick. Rashawn Slater, I have seen go as low as 18 overall in mock drafts. It's probably going to be harder to get Rashawn Slater as we get closer to draft time once people realize just how good this guy can be on the interior. Now, that's going to be another thing that pops up a lot, is that he's likely going to move inside to play guard because of his height. Even Dane Brugler says in his summary that he lacks the ideal height to play on the edge. PFF seems to think that he has the skills necessary to survive as an offensive tackle in the NFL. Specific to the Vikings, he is shorter than the guys currently playing on the outside. You look at Riley Reef, who's 6'3", or excuse me, 6'6", and then Garrett Bradbury is the shortest one of the bunch, coming in at 6'3". So he's right there in that interior offensive line range in terms of height. Specifically, in my opinion, I think Rashawn Slater as the starting left guard for the Vikings heading into 2021 would be a dream scenario, because that means likely we've retained Riley Reef for a lesser payment, or for a lesser payment this year on his contract. And then we've let Dakota Dozier walk in free agency. So you could potentially be looking at the starting offensive line of Riley Reef, Rashawn Slater, Garrett Bradbury at center, Ezra Cleveland at right guard, and Brian O'Neill at right tackle, who has been a nice surprise since they drafted him a couple of years ago. Rashawn Slater also, when you read his summaries and you listen to analysts talk about him as a prospect, they really like how he uses his hands and arms, and knows when to engage, knows when not to engage. He's a very smart player, doesn't let defenders get behind him. And just watching how he handles Chase Young, and that's something that I did myself. I was like, well, everybody's pointing to this specific game, I might as well go check it out myself. Now, I'm limited in what I can do because I don't have access to all 22 film, but at the same time, there's enough available out there online where you can sort of get a point of departure to point to, and sort of tie in all of the things you read from analysts and various mock drafts from around the net. So Rashawn Slater looks like he's going to be the second offensive tackle taken off the board in the NFL draft. There's I think a small outside chance that Christian Darrisaw is the second offensive tackle drafted. I don't know if I buy into that. I've seen Darrisaw mocked to the Vikings a couple of times, but if I'm Minnesota, or if I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, which I definitely want Rashawn Slater. I'm not interested in Elijah Vera Tucker at the top 15. I understand he can basically do the same thing, play guard, play left tackle from USC, but I think that's a bit of a reach. I think if we go Elijah Vera Tucker at 14 overall, that is going to be a similar draft pick to what we did with Garrett Bradbury a couple of years ago. It's just going to be reaching for a position of need when you can get a guy like Rashawn Slater, who is battle tested and is versatile, because he could play left tackle if we don't have Riley Reef on the roster at the beginning of the season. So that is our look at Rashawn Slater, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.